the U.S. Forest Service international programs, after a really successful project between the National Fish and Wildlife Forensics Lab and WRI, allowed me to found the Wood Identification and Screening Center in 2017. It was co-located at the National Fish and Wildlife Forensics Lab. Just this past May, we were able to expand to Oregon State University, and our staffing increased drastically, as well as our partnerships. We were predominantly working through regulatory groups for the last 3 years as a forensic service provider. But due to this recent switch to academia, we now have multiple commercial partners domestically in the Pacific Northwest. Our dominant technique is DART-TOF-MS, as well as some hyperspectral imaging and fluorescence studies. But we also have very close partnerships in anatomy and genetics through the Pacific Northwest Research Center. So we're kind of involved in a lot of things and a lot of new exciting things that have just come up in the last year. So a bit about the IP. Most of you are probably familiar with international programs. They work in over 90 countries on resource management. And as is mentioned earlier, it can be very difficult to get reference samples out of countries. And so the approach we're taking in IP is actually to place a DART-TOF in different regional areas. We have target countries in Southeast Asia, Africa, and South America. And part of these will be exchanging data rather than samples, as well as exchanging scientists. So we're, due to COVID, some plans are on hold, but we will be having a number of scientists from those target countries coming and spending long-term internships at Oregon State University at WISC. So part of our Science Share program. So this is a quick comment on some things that we've noticed not in this sector, but in other sectors related to Wood ID. And basically, it's just that we're all working in different instruments and technologies that generate specific data types, and those data types have different methods we use to apply to them. And sometimes we've heard that there are some kind of common misconceptions that one instrument is better than another, but really what we're discussing are methods. And so what WISC is focusing on right now is a number of research developments on both sample and data analysis that will allow us to tackle some limitations from the past head on and really demonstrate DART maturity. We're also investing in combinatorial approaches like convolutional neural networks with a private company in Oregon, and independently working with wood anatomy and machine imaging that we hope will benefit the community as a whole. So really, I think Yo said it really well earlier, we're very much so focused on harmonized approaches for Wood ID and not competing approaches. And we're looking into innovations in method analysis using existing methods, existing data to really expand the repertoire of what's available. So some of the things that we're focused on at WISC is a fluorescence database for, that should say quantitative as well as visual, so much like what Canada's doing for our frontline workers. And we're highlighting this as a tool to look at variability across finished wood products. There is the DART-TOF-MS database called Forest. It has representation of some 20,000 reference samples from xylaria around the world, capable of full ID of Cady species. And in partnership with the Wildlife Lab, we're developing a training program to assist with implementation for partners to take advantage of this existing investment. We're also developing some strategic commercial species pipelines, specifically working with the U.S. pulp industry. We'll be getting samples from the logging sites to the chipping sites pre-pulping to help them. And then, of course, some other partners, as Megan mentioned, World Forest ID has a lot of representation in WISC, and cruising right along. So some recent updates from the DART side, just on wildlife trafficking in general, developing a lot of work in hair analysis, significant in the wildlife trade. DART is an existing well-known ID technique for keratin as well as essential oils, and we're expanding our essential oil database now. So in the next 2 years, we, again, our certification program, but what I really wanted to do with my last moment here is say that our doors are very much so open to students and scientists from other industries, technologies, colleges, whatever. Come to Oregon State, hang out for a couple of months, learn DART, work with our fluorescence team, and hopefully teach us about your technology and your methods so that we can harmonize these approaches and develop some really powerful databases. Thank you.